my friend, my member. Thank you for hanging out with us today. Remember, if you are part of this group and you have time in your busy schedule, check us out every Tuesday, 12:20 to 1:20 when we talk about music foundations. Today, I'm just going to be talking about how to write a little bitty song in a minor key. Look forward to the special at the end of this video when we're going to convert a couple notes inside of this measure to represent something called harmonic minor. It's going to change the feel of any minor chord or key, and it's going to give you insight on how you can manipulate note structures or pitches so you can achieve different, more interesting melodies. Okay, what we're going to do is we're first going to set up ourselves to see this is going to be written out in chart form. I'm going to write it in a key that is yet to be determined, but what I do know is I'm going to be having a good old-fashioned chart written. So what I'm going to do is just use my brand new marker to define some stability. I know it seems a little awkward in the beginning, and I'm never the best drawer, so this is really hard for me to do lines. Let's try to do them out at maybe 8 lines. There we go. Hey-o. At this point, I wish I had one of those wooden block things where I could just do like that number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I think we should have an 8th, or do this in 4s. It's kind of awkward to have awkward temperament. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. Or how about we just do 1, 2, 3, 4? We do 4. There we go. I'm gonna grab my magic hat of dirtiness. And then what I'd like to do is take that magic hat and I'm going to get rid of a couple of these spaces. I'm going to make some bigger movements. There we go. And what we're doing is just separating these into little bitty bars. This is setting ourselves up for different individual measures. And usually what I like to do is start off with a double bar, which shows me that we're starting our song or our chart. And then I put intro. That could change depending. It might just be like the verse, the A or the B. Hope we can see that up top. I know it's a little bit small, but it's there in theory. And then when we go through here, we can utilize this as our chart. I don't want to put another thing over here, so I want to write kind of slow, but how about we write just a simple melody here? Let's go over to the piano and get our feeling for a minor chord or a minor phrasing or a minor key. And bear in mind the reason why we're doing this is we want to play in a minor key signature. So if we're looking at any music, all music is viewed through the eyes of the major. So if we were doing, let's say, here, let's draw a couple keys out here. We'll do the key of E major, F, G, A, B, C, and D. And then how about A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And how about, oh, I don't know, B. B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. Now, let's go to the key of E major. Let's add back in the sharps that are in the key of E. C major has no sharps and flats. C, D, E, F, G. Using the circle fifths, we go to G. G has one sharp. That sharp is always F sharp. That is the first sharp in all of our keys. If we go to D, which is 5 notes away, G, A, B, C, D, we find ourselves having another sharp. The key of D has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. Using that same mechanism or visualizing the circle fifths that we've done in other foundational music theory courses here, D goes all the way here to our A. So the next sharp is G sharp. And then lastly, the sharp in front of E, our major 7th, is our D. Now, if you are watching this right now and none of that made sense, that means that we need to go back and watch all those fundamental videos that are in this member series. It allows you to see how to do foundations of chords, how to stack notes, which are called dyads, so they become triads. This is called tertiary harmony. And it gives you the keys and all their key signatures. Now, the reason why we want to do that is we want to be able to see what keys have sharps and what keys have flats. It allows us to manipulate them so we can go up in pitch or down in pitch to cause tension. That really is the whole point of music. To use rhythm and pulse, a tempo, in any fashion, any genre, to create a pitch sway which alters the ear into like that fight or flight mechanism, to run away or to put up fisticuffs. The whole idea is some chords, some ideas sound really good, some chords don't, some sound kind of funky. And when you put them together, sometimes you get some magic. Like here's some magic. Here's a C major. These are consonances. Major third, minor third. When we go to a chord like an F major and make it a minor, F minor is not in the key of C major, nor is it in the key of G major, nor is it in the key of F. So they're not really relative to each other through the idea of family chords, but they are relative to each other when you start adding notes. If we have a C to a C7, it feels good going into an F minor. Oh, beautiful. What if we do an F minor and we add a note like a F6? Ooh, listen to that D. Throw another A in there maybe? And A flat. Ooh, really like that. So we don't have constant tones. The whole reason to learn a little bit of music theory is so we can start looking at chords as other than being just 3 notes, but extension notes. And what chord makes out of those 3 notes? And if you add 2 more notes, do these 3 make some sort of tone or triad or a corresponding interval that builds tension or dissonance, and then can we resolve that so it sounds pleasing? That really is the crux of music. So today when we're talking about playing in a minor key, we might choose one of these keys, one of which is being E major, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. When we make any major key signature a minor key signature, we flatten the 3rd scale degree, the 6th scale degree, and the 7th scale degree. The reason why these are super important is because the 1st scale degree in a major key is the tonic, or the 1. Charismatically, we would call this the foundation. After that, we would have the major 2nd, which is a minor triad. We're using our Roman numeral system. Our major 3rd is a minor chord. When we have our 4 and 5, they are both major chords. Our 6 is a minor, and then our 7 is a diminished. Notice we've got that little diminished mark. I see that's a little bit hard to read over the top there. So the whole point about doing this is we can see that these notes are correlating to 2 very, very special concepts that we have to talk about today. That's the whole point of this right here. When we have a key signature and it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, when we are viewing the major 6th and the tonic share a key signature. So in the key of E, E major is the 1. The 6th chord is the C sharp minor. Therefore, the key that has 4 sharps would be E major or C sharp minor. When reading a piece of music or writing an arrangement unto which you are playing this modus, it is called aeolian. But when in reference to the tonic, it is called natural minor. Because all of the notes that we achieve by flattening the 3, which in this case would be the G sharp, it becomes a G natural. We have a C sharp right here, and we flatten this, it becomes a C natural. And now we have a D sharp, onto which when we diminish that by a half step, we achieve a D natural. The key of E minor now is the same as the key of G, as it contains 1 sharp. So when we convert any key from being a major, we simply look at it through the eyes of the minor. We rewrite that 6th scale degree, not as the 6th scale degree, but now as the minor 1, represented here by a Roman numeral I, lowercase. When we go to our next scale position, since we are in the key of G, if we look at this through the eyes of the major, this would be the 3, right? Well, what comes right before the major chord in a major scale? The diminished. So the 2nd scale degree here, because it has a minor 3rd, and then it has a minor 7th, well, or minor 5 and minor 7 sometimes, we're looking at another chord right here. This diminished. Now I'm going to get rid of my big old dot right there because that might be confusing. Dots are confusing. When we have a 1, 2 diminished and a 3 major, the next chord would be a minor. It's a minor 4. Our next key chord is a minor 5, And then our C and both D are major chord structures. If you memorize your major key signature and you look at it through the eyes of the minor, you still see it represented as a major 3, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. It just shifts. So the whole relativity of this chord structure does not contain a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. It contains a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. When we do this, it gives a backdoor resolution to this key. What did sound like a major going, let's see if we can play it out here. 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 flat 3 flat 5 because that's the diminished, and then back to E. Now when we have all of these notes, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, if we flatten the 3, the 6, and the 7, that always reminds me of Zelda. Interesting. When we flatten our 3, 6, and 7 in the key of E minor, we achieve E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, and then E. It only has 1 sharp. Interesting? Interesting enough. Let's just show that conversion right here on the last 2 keys, and then we'll see what they turn into. Very interesting, by the way. When we're in the key of A, if we flatten the old G's, look at me marking stuff. If we flatten the 3, the 6, and the 7, in the key of G, we achieve A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It gets rid of all the sharps that were in the key of A. A only has 3 sharps. When we do that, it takes A major, and A major turns into A minor, which is also the key of C major. When we have this, we've got our B diminished, C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, and then it goes back to our A minor, which is our 1, our minor 1. Our B major, when we have 2 sharps remaining, we would get rid of our 3rd scale degree here, our 6th scale degree here, and our 7th scale degree, thusly giving us 2 sharps. The reason why B minor shares a key signature with D major is because there is only 1 B, and there's only 1 B flat, and there's only 1 B sharp. These keys have other notes that correlate to them. So when you learn these, you also learn maybe, let's say, E flat, A flat, and B flat. It gives you the ability to go, oh, I see why the notes go up or down, augmenting or diminishing, and how they relate to individual notes having texture or tone or a foundation of tonicifying them, so you can see them as being not only a 1, a 3, and a 5, and then seeing them as extended chords and what other things they make as these extensions. So the fun we're going to do right here today is we're going to write a song in one of these keys. We're going to throw some chordage up here on our chart, and then we're going to chart out something maybe like a little melody. And at the end of this, what we're going to do is we're going to go back on this, and we're going to add in our harmonic minor. And just so you can have a little preview of what this is, when we had these as the major, we had E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, and D sharp. When we're playing our E major, A major, or our B major, the last note in the key would have been the 7th, the major 7th. That's what we're talking about in the key of a major key. Tonic was our 1. Our 2 would have been our major 2nd, 3 is our major 3rd, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, major 6th, major 7th. The major 7th is always the one that has the sharp in it that's added each time we add sharps on. So in the key of E, we would have had a D sharp. So when we are writing out our chords later for a harmonic minor, we will be adding back in our D sharp. And I'm going to put a little HM here for a harmonic minor so we memorize it. And then we're going to put our G sharp right here. And then put our A sharp premier. And that gives us our lending or leading tone back in. It's the one that makes it feel like a quick resolution, and every time you hear it, you want it to resolve to that one. You want that stable foundation to just come back. So let's go over to the piano and have a little fun dinking around on some notes, see if we can come up with some awesomeness. I do hope we can. And let's take a gander at these chords. Actually, let's just leave it there so you can see the chord structures. Hopefully my big old head doesn't change the way that this moves, and we can have some fun. Okay, so here's A major. When we get rid of that, we have no sharps and flats, which means A minor, B minor, I'm sorry, B diminished, C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, and A minor. I guess that's simple enough. We have an A minor. We have an A minor, and we're moving a note down to our G. So essentially, that's not an A minor anymore. If we took that A and we put it up here and moved it down to a G, the chord created would be a C. So essentially, we're playing A minor, C major, and then we're moving down to an F. Well, our G and our A are right next to each other, so that's probably going to be a good way to do a little melody. If we've got our A minor and it's walking down, we could actually even see this charismatically as an A minor 7 with a G in the bass. I think that's the best way to write it. And then when we move down to the F and having a 5th in the bass, we have an F major here. Maybe we have it in a first inversion. Interesting. So the whole idea we could have here is we could just have our F written in. We will know to play that through our chart. Let's see what that looks like when we write it down. The feeling of that had a pulse. That pulse was 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor. And then it went to another note 2 notes through. So what we're going to kind of want to do is we're either going to want to write this in a measure where this writing here makes sense, or we're going to want to get rid of some of this so that there's more space per. And when I'm doing that here, he's probably looking at what I'm doing over here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of the middle line on both of these, and that opens us up to have an equal portion. When we're doing this, we had an A minor, so we had 1, 2. Now, rather than complicate this with just A minor, B minor, or B diminished, C major that's in the key, I'm going to write this with Roman numerals. The reason why is I might get through this and go, I like the feeling of the song, but I'm not sure I want to hear it in the key of A minor. What does it sound like in the key of E minor? That's actually a lot of fun. So we're going to take the key of A minor right now, and we're going to show that we can write it as a 1 chord. Right? So the beginning of the song, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. So right here we're going to do the 1 chord again, but we're going to throw the G in the bass. There you go. And then when we're moving here, we're going to have an F major. The F major is going to be our 6th chord, so we're just going to name it as such. Moving on, if we had our A minor with a G in the bass. I like the feeling of the F major, but maybe if we had that 2 chord, we could squish it in there and hold that. So since there's so many beats per measure, I'm just going to put another little guy here to fill out. In music chart writing, when you write a percent, it actually means to just repeat what you just did, which is great. When you do that, you can repeat the note and the measure. The only problem with that is you can't put a repeat sign inside of a measure. It has to be its own measure showing to repeat a full bar. So rather than doing a repeat sign inside of the same measure, we simply do a slash, meaning you're going to repeat what you just did. I know this seems a little weird in the beginning, but this is how you read and write charts. When going through this, I think we're going to do a whole repetition on this. So rather than write this out again, since we've got just the 2 bars, I'm going to put a double slash and then a parenthesis. This is a repeat of the last 2 measures. Cool. I think this is what our intro is going to sound like. I'm going to put it down here and then put a double B, meaning we are done with this passage. Since we've got that and our next portion opens up to something new, I'm going to put an A right here. I assume it's going to be a verse or have a certain balance onto which it's going to change just a little bit. So let's pop on over to the piano, see if we can come up with something awesome. Awesome and fun. Awesome and fun. So we have our A minor. If we go back to the A, it's repeating. I would use a dynamic thing there unless we want to completely change gears. Let's try to change gears a little bit. Our A minor could go to a C major. If we're using our C major, maybe give it some color with a 9. So we could have like a... we do a C2 to a D2. Now what we're doing right there is we're utilizing the chords that are in the key of A minor, which is going to be our A minor in the beginning, walking it down with the G in the bass, finding ourselves to the F, and then we're going to gravitate towards the 3 chord and the 4 chord. Here we're going to be putting down our 3 chord, and we're going to be doing it as a 9 chord, so you can put like a little C9 right here if you want. A minor 7 slash G right here. You can put them above or below. I prefer below. Here's our A minor. We had our F chord right here, and then a repetition, not writing that out. And then here our C9, we're going to be putting a slash because we want to repeat it. And then since we were filling this bar with more than 2 chords, it would actually make sense to just start putting the slash, slash, slash. So you're filling all of the beats in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next chord we did was the D minor 9. Now, the D minor here was just a add note. So we've got a D minor add 9, which I'm going to write it out. The reason why is whenever you write a major chord or a minor chord, they have 2 different ways into which you explain them. One of which is major chords, you can absolutely call a 9. You can call that a C2 or a C9. If you remove the 3rd, most absolutely, call that a C2. But when you're playing a minor chord, you can't just move this note down and call it a C2. I mean, you can because it roughly is the same thing. But if you're in a key that has a minor chord there and it's not a major chord, you must name it as such. It would be called a 9 chord. And because we're not playing above the octave, whenever you go above the octave, 1, flat 3, 5, 1, if I add like a 9 here, I must also have my flat 7. Reason being, when you're talking about chord structures, triads, when we lay them down flat, if you just add a 9, it's a little shaky for its foundation. If you add that minor 7th in there, it has a much more complete foundation. It feels a lot more depth, and it holds and supports many more melodies, as one would imagine. Okay, so when we're doing this one, we're going to be doing this one as our 4 chord. Our 4 chord, of course, is a minor, and we're going to be doing that. I say we just throw some bullets on here. These are repeat signs, and because it's uncharismatic of just doing 2 measures here, how about we repeat this 4 times? So I'm going to put a 4 time down here, right at the bottom. And that's going to remind me when I do my repeats, the 2 double dots in enclosure, I do this over and over again. So thus far, we've got this kind of nonsense. Watch my fingers. Watch me now. What's going on here? I'm pressing buttons, nothing's working. Okay, there we go. that's fun. How about now, where should we go? We can move upwards towards E minor if we want. We can move just straight from our D minor or our D2 to a F major, and maybe back to our A minor to give some feeling. I think that's fun. So after there, dun 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 dun, we rocked it down to the F, the 6th chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna put those in there. And here in our slashes, we were playing these kind of like 16th notes, so I might give a little, or not 16th note, but like I might give a little 8th note right here and put it in parentheses so I know what's going on there. And then here, I might just, because it's different, I'll put a quarter note. That allows me to view that there's 2 different melodies, their feelings we're going for. After doing the F major here, we're going to be walking up, do-do-do-do. So right back to our A minor, the 1 chord, right? And I enjoyed that, so why not do that twice, right? So I'm going to put a repeat right here. Fun. So since this does feel like a different mechanism, we're not going to be putting another double beam here. We're not into another part. We're still part of our form. Our C2 or our C9 going to our D add 9. Actually, I'm going to call that a C2. When we're going through here and then going from our F to our A minor, that sets it up. It has a repeat. Notice we didn't put a 4 or 16 or 22, so it's only going to repeat it 2 times, the maximum number. And then we're going to go to something else. Let's find out what that something else is right now. So we've got... draw that out. And then keep this going, just our Fs, right? And then right here, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of these markings, and we're going to do a little bass intro. So we're going to use our chord right here, our F, and we're going to put a little circle like this and a slash. And right below here, we're going to do our walk-up notes. Now right here, I want to have 3 notes. I want to have our F, G, and then, ooh, that is actually for our commentary on later. Actually here, we're going to have to change this later then. Watch this. I'm only going to be doing it with this one, doing our F and our G, and that's going to walk us up into our A minor that we just saw. Now, this is, I would say, going to be a good end to this. How about we write it out, put this here, and then we'll put an NC, good old-fashioned no chords. What that means is to play the A minor right here, and then here's our F. We're going to keep our F all the way, and we're going to have the bass notes walking up like a figured bass, and then we're going to have these notes, our A minor, walking through A minor, and then there's no chords, nothing's played right there. This is about where I would go to a B. I put a double section right here, throw up my B in a box, and then I would put a double beam on the end here, showing that that is the end of that measure. It's the end of a measure. Nice. I can't see, get my camera angles funky enough. There we go. So what we have right here is basically using our A minor. We've used our 1 chord, our 3 chord, our 4 chord. We've used our 6 chord. Now let's see if we can do something in our B section which doesn't have those chords in it. Let's feel around the keyboard. A minor. Holds it out. No chord. 2, 3, 4. Where does an A minor go besides a C? Could it possibly go from the A minor and go to an E minor? That would be a progression of E minor. Dissonance here, we would have an augmented 4th in the key of F, F, G, A, B. So we'd be playing F Lydian. which fits because we're in the key of A minor. This is natural minor, so all of the notes that are in the key of C, like F, would naturally already have the B there because we're not playing any sharps or any flats. I think that works. And it gives us a little jam section, right? So yeah, I would have an E, and I'd be working these up. So E, F. That note, when we're playing this, we would have our sharp 4, but we don't call it that. We would call it a sharp 11. So this would be a F 11, sharp 11. So we have our 1, 2, oops, sorry about that. We've got our 5, 1, 2, and then we're going to be moving up that chord. We're just keeping the F in the bass. So essentially, if we've got this chord, and we do this, we're moving up our notes. So we would have an E minor with an F in the bass. That's another cool way to call it. And then our next chord moved up. We've got this. This would be like our G major, 9. And we're removing a finger, keeping that. So if we go 1, 2, 3, there really is no 10. So what we're going to do is we're going to rename this chord so it has meaning. If we use this chord as a B, D, and we G, this is like our G major inversion, and if I put an A on here, that's going to be giving me a different chord in the key of B. So if we've got like this B minor, and we throw that on, how does that sound? A little too jazzy? Way jazzy. I like that. Jam section. I think it works fine there. E minor, F, G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here I'm going to add back in measures, bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to put down our 5 chord here. And then we're going to be putting the F in the bass. That's probably just going to make the most sense. And then we're going to be carrying through here. Same thing, and ding, ding. And then after that, we're going to be moving our notes up. Get rid of that right there. Let's get rid of this piano so you can see what I'm doing. Oh, you know what? Probably should move that up. Coolness. We've got this going da 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 da. And then we're going to be doing the same thing here, adding more measures. And then we've got, let's say, our G there. Rename it. G2. G2 are a cluster, so our G is our 7. And then our 7. And then slash chord, and we're just going to be throwing underneath that the... Actually, no. We'll just do it as G. Cool. And then we're going to hold that out, and since we're repeating the last 2 measures, we're going to use our repeat sign. I think that's going to be groovy. Now this is going to be our jam section. I'm going to put a bar on here. This is basically what I want to repeat. Longer jam, probably would do it something like, I don't know, 8 bars. Not to be too many. You can turn it into however many you want to later on down the road though. And then lastly, I would keep this for the outro or the C sections. Either one is aptly named. Double bar to begin, and then most likely a double bar on our ending there. I'm awfully close to there, so I'm just going to rewrite this. This is why when you do it on paper, you do it with a pencil. Pencil. So here's the feeling and form for almost the whole thing. Let's see if it makes any sense. Then we'll write a little melody. here's our 5 is going to be our E minor. So after that tension is being built, I feel like I should go back to the 1. So I think we're going to do a DC or a dal segno. So from right here, we're going to move that to the front so it's not in our way. Do times 8. D L S E G N E O dal segno. I am dyslexic. Dal segno al coda. What we're going to do is we're going to go all the way back up to our part where we are going back and forth with our C. So I really enjoyed that, the C2 right here. So we're going to put a little slash, dotty to dot, little S, big S. This is our dal segno. What's happening is we're going to go from this sign, from here all the way back to here, play through this section, and then after we're done with this section of 4, we're going to take this sign, the coda, and we're going to go all the way down here, and we're going to end the song with something. So the whole idea of ending the song here, we've got this. Makes sense to just do a retardando and a decrescendo, and then maybe return back to a really weird and interesting A minor chord. That's an augmentation. That's an augmentation. I think I'm liking that. So if I'm looking at this correctly, which I think I am, it's an A flat major, A flat minor, A flat with a 9, so a 2 or a sus, and then we're moving this chord down the root. We're adding in an E to build tension between the 5, so that's an aug 5 or a flat 6, and then an A in the bass. I think that'd be fun. Maybe that's a little too out there. So we're just going to take it and we're going to end it here on the same thing we were doing. We're going to be doing the 3 chord, repeating it, and then what was that? The minor chord, the 4. Cool. Now here's the idea behind this. When we played this minor chord, the 4 and our D, E, oh, that's not the major. What am I doing? C2. Do, 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 C. And then moving here to the D minor. I'm going to put down here fine to mean ending, I'm going to make these two double beams down here extremely dark, because whenever you see the darkest bars, that means the end of the piece. And then I'm going to write retard ondo and de crescendo. When we do the de crescendo and retard ondo, that means that we're going to slowly layer this out. And on my last one, I'm going to put a fermata here so we can hold that whole thing out. Now, this is how I use the time to write a song. I know that I took a lot longer because I'm explaining every different part behind this. However, I think it's very apt to go back and look at it through the eyes. We're only going to be able to do this in one key right now. Maybe we'll get rid of the B. We'll show it through the eyes of E in a different video. Hopefully I can get to her in the next 20 minutes. But right here we have a progression. This is how a standard song could be written. Doesn't have to be. We have our A minor. What I'm going to look at is the mode of A minor. This is A natural minor. When you do it from the stance of the B, it gives you like you're diminished, you're Locrian. I don't know if I like it over the top of Locrian. How about Ionian? I don't like Ionian. Dorian. Oops, no black keys. So yeah, I think just maybe using a minor 7, adding the G in there, and then doing, minor 7, and then adding the G for a minor 7 arpeggio. That might be the basis onto which we just use over a pattern. When going to the C2, to the D2, here is I probably should put it here. That's in 4/4. This is going to be in 6/8. This is going to go back to our 4/4. Stays through with our 4/4. This is our 6/8. And then it ends on that. Interesting, huh? No need to put 4/4 here because it follows through without having to change the meter. And here's where it gets kind of interesting after going through the portion of here. You can use your C2. The simplicity of that. It feels very Zappa-esque. I'm hearing like saxophone solos and oboe solos and all over stuff over the top of it. So writing a melody line to that could actually be a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that could work well. So that cluster master there would be my D Dorian. because it has that B natural, that distance in between here gives me that augmented feel. It's a nice, good tension builder. And then since we're going back to the C, the F is part of the C as being also a fourth, a tension builder. Not a perfect fourth, but it is a fourth. This is a perfect fourth. This is an augmented fourth. So it feels good to have that weird symmetry. Fun. And then after going to our E minor and walking that up, we can use our E minor. Let's see if our E Phrygian works. I like the E Phrygian over there. I really enjoy that too. I would probably most likely do E Phrygian over the top of the E movement. F, I would do like a melodic major seventh. And use that dissonance with the B there. I would definitely use F Lydian there. Okay, here's where the interesting part comes, and I hate to rush it in here, but the whole point is to experience music through the eyes of one thing and then kind of manipulate that and see if you can see it through the eyes of another. So, whilst doing that and saying that, we started off here in the key of A minor or C major. Most definitely it's going to be A minor. When you add in the harmonic minor in the key of A minor, you are simply looking at it through the eyes of the major. A major has A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, and G sharp. When we retain that mediant as being a C natural rather than a C sharp, we are keeping our triad true to the minor. 1, flat, 3, 5. Now, when we put in something like the natural lending tone from the key of A, we are going back over the key of A minor, and we are putting back in the G sharp. In the key of E, we'd be putting back in the D sharp. So when we have this chord of sort of feeling using the harmonic minor in lieu of the natural minor, that allows us to have a little more weirdness and a little bit more outside the box thinking, if you will. And the tendency is it builds tensions that are different. Now, from here, what we have is the key of, we're not even going to do the key of E minor because there's not enough time right now. But what happens here, I'm just going to simply lay this out. When you have a G sharp here, it alters your 5th scale degree. It turns your 3rd chord now into a G major, E, G sharp, B. It turns your 3 chord into a C augmented. And then it also changes your last chord into a diminished, meaning your 7 is now a diminished. What this means for us in music, it builds way more tension. You've got your A minor, right? So this is a minor 1. You've got your diminished 2. You've got your augmented 3. I don't know why I'm rewriting that. There's no point to do that. Let me just write the chords in. So you've got your A minor. You've got your B diminished. You've got your C augmented. You've got a D minor. You've now got an E major, an F major, and then a G sharp diminished. The way it feels on the piano is you have all the same chords. You had the A minor, and now you have the B diminished. And instead of going to a C major, which is nice, it's foundation, it goes to a C. Hear that G sharp, how it totally changes the feeling of it? Our next chord's a D minor. We now have an E major. Woo! We have an F major. And rather than a G major, we have a G sharp diminished. And it goes back to our A minor. It adds a lot more gravitas with that G sharp. So let's see what this song looks like. Instead of using the G all the time, what happens when we use the G sharp in lieu? That's actually very pretty. Totally changes the feeling of tension and the meter, which I want to explore. Yeah, I could explore that all day. And then the next phrasing we had would have been the E minor, the F walking up to the G. Well, now we don't really just have the G, we could utilize the G sharp. Let's hear what that sounds now. It's no longer an E minor. Not bad. Wonder what both of them sound like. Fit together. Higher register. I love that. I would probably stick with the first one. E minor, it's easier to play. And the modes are still in A minor, C Ionian. They're all in the key of A minor or C. When we raise the natural tone there, that lending a leading tone doesn't necessarily mean we always have to use it. And then since we are playing around with the C2 and then the D2, and we're utilizing that weird note as far as the augmentation there, doesn't mean you always have to use it. So upon review, I would go back on this piece. After I wrote it, I would probably not touch it for like a week or two. And then I would look at it through the eyes of, oh, how do I feel about adding in harmonic minor, giving me that G sharp, and then how does that affect this? Well, it really didn't affect much of that besides utilizing it over the top of this. I used here, and then when I had it, I put it inside of the D here. So D minor doesn't have a G sharp. What we're doing there is we're just adding that note and playing a different modus from the key. Long story short, I don't want to get too much into it, but when you do harmonic minor, each one of the harmonic minors has a name. Since this one is based off the third scale degree, this is called Ionian natural 5. I think is what it's called. Yeah, or no, sharp 5. Ionian sharp 5. So the whole idea behind this is, what we do is we go through all these and we look at the way that this G sharp effectively moves all these chords. I do like it here when we did this, so it changed it to an E major. We moved up our F, and then here, instead of having our 7, we use that as our diminished. Well, rock on. Rock on! Did the same thing there. Did not really alter it here at the ending like we did up here. I wanted to leave it here in the C2 kind of nature, C2 stiffs, and then the D minor here. D minor add 9. I guess I could write that out. So, this is how I would write a piece. Now, here's where the fun, interesting, weird part goes. I've mapped out a progression on what I think I want to be doing. I've put into perspective what the G sharp does and alters the different notes I could use for the melodies. And then it's just sitting back down at the piano when I've got some space away from it, at least for me. I've got some space away from this particular... What is going on here? I've got some space away from the song for a little minute so I could come back and try to write a little melody. That's an interesting melody. I think that's cute. And then at the end, after doing that, the I don't know, see? After toying around with it and feeling out the different feelings, I would absolutely go through like all of our different Piccadilly third it, ended on a major. No! Anyway, I really enjoyed today. I hope you did too. I hope this was a different introspective look on how one aspect is for songwriting. Quick recap, if you are going over this and you like any of these foundations of musical theory, this is just one example on how to write. The reason why I included this inside of our foundations of music theory, onto which this is a paid membership tier level, is because there's a lot of this stuff on the channel that just nobody watches. I really enjoy it too. Every once in a while I'll go back and watch one of the videos I did, and then I'll timestamp it. So if I'm going through, I'll be like, oh, Wago's talking about majors and minors at 3:20, and then it'll put it in the comment section a little blue mark so people can click on that and go right to that. That super helps out this channel. That means that if you like to nerd out on music like me, that'd be awesome. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed today. What we talked about was how to chart something, how to use some notations, how to put a little bit of feeling in there, and then how to view chords in a key signature so you can start putting them in a progression. This is an advanced little level because what it does is it takes us out of the mainframe of writing in a key signature with 7 notes, and when you alter those 7 notes, like flattening the median, flattening the submedian, flattening that lending leading tone, you are left with a natural minor. The natural minor is the exact same key as the major. Each key signature has it. D majors would be B minor. When we do F major, it would be D minor. When we do G major, it would be E minor. When we do G flat, it would be E flat minor. So you just kind of remember the mechanism of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This also happens to be the mechanism on how you would modulate or transpose for a different key signature when writing. So if I write a song in the key of C on the piano and I give it to an alto saxophone player, I've got to modulate that to the key of A major so they can play. So I play in concert pitch, and then they're playing in their modulated key, or transposed key, rather, is the terminology. Anyway, I really enjoyed today, as I said. If you dig on this, thank you. Put it in the comment section, and spread the word. Membership levels for people who really want to take their membership to the next level and support this channel, and really helps out in the long run. Everything we do here is for our local community, and every time I teach or be taught, I learn something awesome and new about music. So I really enjoy it, and I have a feeling that there will always be some sort of musical adventure in life. No matter how much you learn in music, there's always the next step. So watch this channel to follow my steps on what it is to be a middle-aged man going through the process of taking the music foundations, trying to find members to play with, go in the recording studio and start doing what I do best, playing for other people, seeing if I can get on some fun LPs, and then maybe do some live work here around town or on the other islands. Dare I say, even on the mainland or abroad, Amsterdam, Germany. Go see some friends that I've met online. Anyway, again, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week, 12:20 to 1:20.